COVID accelerated it. It'd be interesting to talk to him now.
Yeah.
Because it'd be interesting to see what he's saying after COVID. Because whatever was happening, COVID accelerated by, I would say, 10 years.
I got a prime example. I got a first-hand example at a hiring practice in a tech company. Get this. So you get unlimited sick days. Like you can take whatever sick time off you want, right? Unlimited. Like however much you don't want to be there, you can just not be there. But guess what 2 words you can't use in your hiring practice when you're looking for people to work for you in the tech industry? What 2 words would be not allowed? First one, do you want to guess?
I don't think I can.
Right.
Passion. You can't say passion. You can't say passion. You don't want people passionate about their job. You cannot put this on the website or on your advertisement for hiring your tech people. You can't put passion on there because that's too much like overtime. Like what did they call it when the guys are working, like not guys, but people are working like, double shifts, like the crunch. It's too much like crunch. The other one, which is even worse, is inspire. Guess what connotation the word inspire has for the new world?
It's not fair to those that are uninspirable.
No. Well, that too.
Well, I'm guessing inspire makes you think bigger, so it's kind of a threat.
No, it's religious. It's too religious.
Oh, forgot. So, it's funny.
And now put that on top of the fact
these are like 2 of my favorite words.
That you're not as likely to get the job if you're not a fucking tranny or black or brown or Pakistani or an immigrant from here, or maybe, you're a chick, just all these different reasons. I'm not saying those people can't do the jobs. There's probably tons of them that can do the jobs, but we're going to put aside a bunch of people that are arguably better at doing those jobs to fill. I mean, your country right now is being run by my country too. We just had the thing. It looked like the Marvelous Five or something up there announcing their new legislation. They have pink hair, purple hair. It's all different colors, and they're making laws. It's a fucking clown show.
Welcome to Ignite the Spark Within, a podcast designed to do just that. Ignite your spark within you. I'm your host, Sarah Malone, owner of Spark Fitness and Lifestyle Coaching, and voted Yahoo Finance's top 10 female coaches to follow in 2021. I believe everyone has a fire inside them, a powerful purpose, a story waiting to be told, and everyone can uncover and unleash this power. Every day you have the choice to either let your experiences shape you or take control and use your experiences to shape the world around you. You were made to experience happiness, freedom, joy, purpose, love, passion, and abundance. Disrupt the status quo, think for yourself, and join forces with those around you doing the same. Join me for thought-provoking conversations along with the strategies needed in order to help you ignite your spark within.
How's it going?
How are you guys?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
Long time no see.
Yeah, it's been a while. Good to see you.
Well, you want to know the crazy part? Is that I met you guys on your retreat out here in Arizona. And what was that? Like a year ago for me. You guys have done so many by now, but that's how we met. And I just moved out here. So I'm actually out here right now.
Oh, cool. Whereabouts?
You started my journey about 20 minutes from Sedona.
Oh, nice. Wow. Really?
Oh, yeah.
Like northeast, southwest? Whereabouts?
Yeah, north. So do you know where Grimerica is?
I think so. So is it on the way to what's that place again? So you go up do you go up the valley, up the mountain kind of through the valley? And
oh no, I wish. That's near Flagstaff. But
yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
It's more towards Phoenix.
Okay. Cool.
I'm surprised you all haven't done a retreat out here in Sedona.
Well, we've thought about it. I mean, I think it's been hard to find a place. Darren was looking a while back. It's just hard.
It's hard to find a place. But so I mean,
okay, I got a place.
the only option, we looked into a couple places and they seemed expensive, and then I don't know what happened. We just left Arizona.
You just come on, it's the land of the vortexes. Yeah, there's an 11-acre property I just found for retreats. It's got like 17 beds. It's huge. There's a private like guest house for you guys to stay in since you're the facilitators. But if you want, I can send you the link after this.
Yeah, sure.
Just to check it out.
Yeah, totally. Sedona would be on the list. I mean, I'll be in Arizona next week. Briefly.
Oh, really? Whereabouts?
Well, we fly into Vegas and then sort of just cut through that northeast corner on the way up to the Utah venue. And then I think
for the next retreat,
Grand Canyon probably. So I don't know if that must be in Arizona, right?
Nevada.
Yeah, it is. It's about 3 hours for me. Well, thanks for being flexible with me. This is actually going to be the first show back in season 2 of my podcast. So this will be a riot. I have I've been watching your show, and I just watched your recent one with that guy with the near-death experience.
Oh, what a fantastic guest. Yeah.
That was a pretty cool story. Yeah. Pretty dope. So yeah, I'm actually living up in an RV here overlooking the Red Rocks, doing the show and doing the healing stuff and doing the retreats too. So thank you for being flexible with me and rescheduling too, Graham.
No problem. My pleasure.
Yeah. So we're just going to roll right into it. I keep it recording because sometimes I've learned from experience that some of the best gold happens in the pre-show talk. So we'll get rolling into it. So I met you guys on so for my listeners that don't know, Grimerica is a podcast show. They cover anywhere from ET to, ancient civilizations, angelics, and all the stuff that I normally talk about on my show as well. But you guys do it in a way without any limitations, which I love. And so I wanted to open up the conversation that way with all of this. And I wanted to open up the conversation to ask you to share with me about your recent trip to Egypt.
Yeah, sure. Well, it was amazing. I mean, we went with Ben from Uncharted X and the Brothers of the Serpent. And the thing about Ben and his tours is he's looking at it from a like looking for evidence of advanced machinery or advanced technology. And he goes with a tour group in Egypt with a guy named Yusuf, actually, who we got to have on the show one of these times. Hey, Darren, we're supposed to.
Yeah. I already talked to him about it. He's
good. Yeah.
The Komet School. That's the guys we used.
Yeah.
And they're amazing.
Yeah. So he's very, very open to all kinds of theories. He loves to hear people's theories about stuff, not necessarily proven theories, just speculations and all kinds of stuff. He would rather hear people talking about all that kind of stuff because he kind of doesn't really agree with the mainstream thing. So you're already there with Egyptians that are looking outside the box and Ben, who's super knowledgeable, leading the tour. So that kind of gives you a sense of what it was like.
Well, let me just pause there and go into what you just said. So the mainstream, what would be the difference? Like the thing is in some regards, when we're talking about Egypt and we're talking about the ancients and most of it is speculation. Yeah.
Yep.
It's there's probably more speculation than there is fact.
But not to them though, right? To the narrative and the Egyptologists and the archaeologists, like they've kind of got it figured out, right? Share.
I think they do.
Share that with me because I have my own theories. But I want to hear what you guys experience.
The mainstream?
Yes.
Yeah. Mainstream thinks it was made by Khufu, 2500 BC as a tomb. But,
yes. And I'm wondering now if people actually still believe that with all that we've been experiencing and learning about.
Honestly, I think most people just don't give a fuck. If you started asking most people about the pyramids, they'd just be like, either A, wouldn't know anything or wouldn't care, or they'd say something silly like aliens, which might not be that silly, but it's probably not aliens. But they're just ambivalent.
That's true. But people who are fascinated by it are going to find that's speculation or theory of them being tombs is false. Like, as far, because I talked to Mark Wooding. Mark Wooding was on your trip with you. I talked to him after your guys' trip, and it's like there's almost less evidence that it would be anything like a tomb than anything else. So what did you guys find?
I probably think that if I had to pick one guy that's probably the closest to it, it would probably be Jeffrey Drum with his Land of Chem stuff. I hadn't done the Land of Chem yet when I went there, but I came up with a lot of pretty similar conclusions. I mean, I didn't come up with chemicals, but I came up with definitely machines or manufacturing facilities of some kind. It's very apparent that none of that shit was made for people to be walking in or moving around in or anything. And I think all the precision stuff, I mean, the precision is pretty good, even considering it's probably been 10 or 20 or 1,000 years or more, that stuff is still precise enough to give you, because some people get all excited about the resonance and stuff like that and think, oh, it's like a meditation this or meditation that. But if you like blew up a 350 small block and went and crawled inside one of them cylinders and started hooting and all, I mean, you could even do it with your motor you have, like blow in there or something like that, or when you blow over the top of a bottle, you'll get some harmonics because it's just made so perfectly. So if you crawled inside of an engine and blew in one of them cylinders, I think you'd get, or in the exhaust manifold, for example, you get sort of that same harmonic resonance that you get all over these pyramids, which is, in the places we went were undeniable. The King's Chamber, it's there for sure. Inside that box in the King's Chamber, it's there for sure. There's that little room on the way to the King's Chamber, the Queen's Chamber. But again, I just think that's really just a consequence of precision more than like, more than a power, more than an esoteric energy. More than a purpose of the build, I would say. It's because it's a consequence of it being so precise that it's going to have that resonance, because the sound is just perfectly geometrically whatever the fuck. I mean, I don't know what it's doing, but I just think that perfect things would make the same sound. If you crawl inside a big pressure tank, it has the same effect.
Interesting.
So for me, you're
saying it's more of a... Go ahead, Graham.
No, go ahead and finish that.
So what Darren was basically saying, I think, is actually really brilliant, because he's saying that the harmonics and the resonance and the vibration that happens within there with the sound is a side effect of what the main purpose was, but we still don't know what the main purpose was.
Yeah, the guy we had on fairly recently was Jeffrey Drum, who Darren mentioned, the Land of Chem, and he thinks it's they were making ammonia, different types of chemicals in there, because ammonia can be used for so much afterwards. So they're manufacturing massive chemical, and it's pretty mind blowing when you see his presentations and stuff like that. But the main difference, I would say, between the mainstream narrative, what they're holding on to, and people like, Randall Carlson or Graham Hancock or Ben from Uncharted X and these guys is the difference of how far back the advanced technology goes, or advanced civilization. Like when we were with Ben, we saw, precise granite works that there's no answer on what's going on with those. Like there's these huge boxes, granite boxes, like 10 by 15 feet kind of thing, huge, precision made, that are just dumped on Elephantine Island, for example. Just made out of different types of granite, hard granite, with sort of machine marks on them, like not just something you're going to hand carve. And there's also these huge granite statues that are precisely made, and their speculation is that these were made prior, and as the dynasties kind of happened, like the quality actually decreased, or the accuracy kind of decreased in quality, even the perfection decreased. So, but the mainstream will never sort of really get on board with that. They think it all happened through the dynastic periods. But it seems to me like, and what we saw some really good examples, like huge granite things too, that it looked like they must have been sitting there for tens of thousands of years. And like, actually, I think it might be in the picture in my background there. or is that that might be Karnak? That might be
That's
Karnak.
Luxor.
That's Luxor.
That's Luxor.
We're talking about the ones in Karnak. I mean, massive, like, so, and Ben's thing is like, he kind of puts a limit at the weight that you can carry these massive granite one piece things around. It's like, a couple 100 tons is one thing, but when you get over 300 tons to 1,000 tons, one piece of granite at 1,000 tons, like any kind of conventional transportation just doesn't work.
Right. Including humans, which is why, Darren, I'm curious as to why you would say that you actually do not believe in the theory that extraterrestrials did have a part in creating the pyramids. You do not think that's true?
No, I don't think that's the case. No, I think we see that sort of similar technology, whatever it was. There's very clear signs of a technology all over Egypt, from the pyramids at Giza all the way up to the Hori and Aswan, and in between, it's all sort of shows that, especially the older stuff, the stuff that's pre-dynastic. It shows sort of some clear tooling. The Snake Bros think it's scooping. They use scooping to describe it. I don't think they actually think it's scooping. I don't know. I could picture it scooping, but it's probably more grind marks from some sort of oval-shaped grinder that they're using. But anyway, it's not fucking chisels. There's like, when you go there, you can see a clear pattern in a tool that's repeatable, and it's repeatable from one end to the other. On a couple sites, you can see where they're doing tooling in two different directions, like the Assyrian and the pyramids at Giza, the third pyramid that still has some of the casing stones on it. But you see the same sort of stuff over on Easter Island. You see the same kind of stuff down in Peru and in South America. Pumapunco has, like the Snake Bros, when we did they do the presentation. It's on our YouTube channel, Unfinished, where they kind of show those same tooling marks from around the world. But so to me, I mean, maybe aliens were all over the world doing that shit, but I think it's just more likely it's like that's what the last round of people were up to before some rocks from space or the sun got crazy or they nuked themselves, or I mean, it's all pretty fragile. If the sun did a corona mass ejection or whatever that shit's called, where it happened in like the 50s, the 1800s, where it roasted all the telegraph lines. If that same Carrington style event happened today, it would sort of roast everything: the internet, the grid, the computers, the cars, your phones. None of that shit's going to work. And I don't know.
Well, and that's kind of yeah, exactly. And that's kind of where I'm going in this show too, because obviously we all know what's going on in the world, but it almost feels like, and this is just my very uneducated in regards to this. You both have been doing this for how long now? Graham, how long have you been, into this and researching and exploring this?
Well, we've been doing the show for 10 years.
Pyramids. I just mean ancient history in general.
Yeah, 10 years. I mean, but interest goes beyond that. But we've been doing the show for 10 years. So,
Yeah. Darren, you guys
interest goes back to like the early 90s, 1990 kind of thing. So.
Yeah. And I was going to get to that in a moment, but I almost wonder, like I said, this is my totally uneducated in this realm. That's why I'm talking to you guys is, it almost seems like timelines are out of order, or they're just, we don't understand timelines in the way that humans would linearly see timelines, because a technology like that to do some of these things, pyramids aside, pyramids is just one portion of it, but there's many other structures like this across the globe that seem, to our mind in what we know right now seems impossible. And yet we can't replicate the technology. That seems kind of strange to me. Exactly. So it seems like either something's being hidden from us, or like timelines are weird. And that was more quote unquote futuristic than it was past tense. You know what I'm saying?
It's both. It's sure it's being hidden, but it's coming out. I mean, there's technology coming out based on ancient wisdom that can sort of apply to almost everything. And it's also, I think there is a weird timeline thing, but I mean, I've got an example. Can I share my screen quickly?
I think both of those things, but that being said, I still don't think that like what they were doing is outside the realm of human possibility. Like, I think if we went in that direction, if that's what we wanted to do, we could be moving 1,000-ton stones, and we could be, you know, doing the same, maybe not the exact same, but a similar, we could be doing a lot of the similar stuff they were doing if we wanted to do that, instead of like looting the fucking place and making missiles,
right?
Whatever we've decided to do with our money. We kind of got to this airplane tech, and we got to this car tech, and we got to these houses, and we just stopped, and we never really built anything better. But
yeah, all right, here we go.
So this is what Darren was talking about, right? This is an example of the scoop. So I don't know if you can see my pointer on here at all.
Yes, yeah,
like this is a great example of something that's it being in mid quarry. So they're taking this huge block here, and they're coring it out of this massive thing, and they need sort of like a minimum diameter to scoop out this material, right? You can see these scoop marks. They go all the way down and all the way up over here. And then this little ball at the end here is a dolerite ball, and that's what they say the ancients used to quarry these things. Pounding a little ball that really doesn't take away any material, dust. You can hammer it onto the granite, and it just takes away dust. I mean, it doesn't even make any sense at all. So I can show you kind of a
unless it was a different. The only thing that would ever make sense with that, seeing, and if you're watching this on YouTube, guys, you could see this visual, but it's like this small stone thing and this massive like walkway that they're saying that they carved out of here. The only way that that would actually make sense is that if the consistency or the material that they were scooping was a different material at the time of doing it, and then it just calcified or something created it.
Then it wouldn't be able to support itself at that length. I mean, they're using granite for the reason that they can make something that's 200 feet long and it doesn't break. Any softer material is not going to hold up.
Here's Darren sneaking down. Here's Darren sneaking down where he's not supposed to be in the massive excavation of, not excavation. What's the word I'm looking for when you take it out? Quarry, the quarrying of this huge obelisk. This was supposed to be an obelisk here. You can see how they've gone all the way down like that. And then these little balls here is how they're saying. I mean, I kind of agree with you that there might have been a different consistency to everything, to stones, to the atmosphere. It might have been completely different back then.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I mean,
the problem with that, then it just negates it being able to be as big as they are. If they aren't as big and solid as they are, you know, you could make a nice sandstone box, great, like they have down in the Seraphim. You can make a giant sandstone box and say that it turned to granite over time. But the problem is when you know that box is just going to be shit. There's no way it's going to last this long. There's no way it's not just going to crumble apart on itself. That's why they're using those stones, is for the fact that they don't. Unless it was just like,
that's true,
completely preserved in fucking sand somehow and then turned. Then I could see if it's like the whole thing's fossilized. That would be an argument if the whole thing was somehow fossilized.
Right. Like
but I still don't see how you ever make
on our trip with you,
like the granite stones that are spanning the openings in the Great Pyramid. Those are big to span that opening. I mean, if you made that out of sandstone and piled all that shit on top of it, it's probably just
like it would crush
in on itself.
Yeah, there's so many more. It's like there's so many more questions than there are real answers, you know. And my one of my biggest thing. Here we go, some more. I love this, Graham, by the way. This is so awesome. You know, the biggest question is like, why? You know, if to make ammonia, it doesn't seem like going through all that trouble just to do that would make any sense.
Well, I mean, if they were using it his thing is they were using it to make fertilizer. So they were using those pyramids to make different fertilizers in them. And the reason it makes sense to me is because it doesn't seem, unless they had iron and it all sort of turned to dust or titanium. I mean, we're doing a bunch of this stuff in like giant titanium pressure tanks nowadays. Like we're welding rolled titanium plate, we're flare bevel welding it all together, you know, doing multi-pass. So if they weren't doing that, if they were in a direction that's utilizing stone for a bunch of different things, and we've gone in a different direction where we're using, say, concrete and steel to build things, they were using stone, it seems. I mean, you can say they were pouring it, but we went to the quarry and seen where they were chipping one out. So did they pour it into quarry and then ship it out doesn't make sense. Clearly they were quarrying it.
How small those walkways are.
It's that's what I mean. That thing wasn't really meant to be walked through. It very much, when you're inside it and you see the stains on the walls and everything else, very much get the sense that it's a machine. They say that the chemical smells from all the bats and all that, but we went in a bunch of other sites in Egypt that weren't pyramids and they didn't smell like that. The Serapeum smell like that, for example. I didn't notice. Maybe Graham, did you notice smells in those other tombs and stuff that probably had just as many bats in them?
No, not the same. No, you're right. Not really. And I think his point about ammonia was it's a precursor to a whole bunch of stuff, I think. And the interesting thing is this new technology that Malcolm Bendall's talking about is he thinks that actually ammonia is a part of that. Like they're creating ammonia and using ammonia at some point. So there's a crossover with this new clean tech that's coming out and what Jeffrey Drum says about these big things being used to make ammonia.
So maybe they blew that shit up enough times. They blew themselves sky high enough times trying to make this fertilizer that they just made. That's how they made a giant pressure chamber.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting. Do you mean when you said this new ammonia cleaning, does that mean like in the present tense, in the present day?
Yes. Yeah. Alleged. Well, I mean, no, I'm kind of getting in. I'm
getting 50-50 feedback.
Are you? That's interesting.
Yeah.
So Randall Carlson spilled the beans on Joe Rogan. I'll give you the quick, quick sort of 2-minute version here, 5-minute version about this new tech based on ancient wisdom, right? And Joe was like, oh, and Randall's like, I've got to come back and I'll tell you about this. So Randall's been in contact with this inventor named Malcolm Bendall, who was reading through ancient texts, and he gets downloads from God and all this stuff. Like for us sort of spiritual people, this Genesis story about creating this sort of one system for technology, it's kind of like a theory of everything type thing, connecting the resonant frequencies of the elements with creating plasmoids for clean energy. So it's the implosive type of energy, not explosive. So Randall went back on Joe Rogan with Malcolm Bendall. I'm giving you kind of a bit of the conspiracy behind it. And Joe spent quite a bit of time trying to vet Malcolm himself. There's some headlines out there that were sort of smearing Malcolm Bendall, right? But Randall's been in touch with this guy for years because it's all based on sacred geometry and ancient wisdom. The Vajra from India. So he's basically saying like these imploded spheres turn into like a toroid, which is like a side view of the Vajra. Super fascinating. And Joe won't release the episode. So Malcolm and Randall's team went out. They did a bunch of videos. They made 15 videos in this series explaining this, how they can retrofit cars, diesel engines, spaceships. Like it's scalable to almost everything. It cleans the exhaust, transmutes the molecules to oxygen, uses up all the waste energy. Like it's fucking world changing, completely world changing.
Interesting.
So that's what I'm talking about. And of course, some people are still skeptical, but he's got people, funding licenses, and he's got patents. He's got, so get this, since Joe won't do this, and Malcolm's met with NASA apparently, and the intelligence agencies and stuff. He's, I'm just going to pull up an article here. This is all coming out in the mainstream, basically. So it's super exciting time right now. I'm just going to go to his facts here quickly. So the fighter jet that never needs to refuel. Nuclear energy was discovered decades ago, but well, okay, that's not a good headline here. Lockheed Martin's fusion-powered fighter. So Lockheed Martin and NASA are coming out talking about plasmoids, talking about restarting the atomic age, compact fusion research. So it's all of a sudden coming out now as well. And he's got it in all these different countries all over the world. He's doing tests. He's retrofitting stuff. So I think it's legit, but there's still a lot of people that are skeptical about it. I mean,
nice background, Darren.
He says 60 years this stuff's been hidden, right? Ever since Ken Shoulders was talking about the plasmoids in his book EV, A Tale of Discovery, which was actually deleted, that book.
Was he the water car guy?
No, Stanley Meyer was the water car guy, which he was using a plasmoid gun to run the car on water. So this will enable kind of cars to, it's not free energy. It's just clean energy. Like once you get it to temperature, then it can run by harvesting the waste energy from the cars, but it's not completely free energy. So,
all right. So here's a question for you guys. Hey, I love this because I have so many, obviously us spiritual people, we know kind of we know the history as far as what's the dark part of it, right? And why certain things have been hidden to us. So here's a question for you guys. This is more theoretical. It's not like you're going to know the answer, but how long do you think that they've actually had access to that? And then somehow it's just getting into the right hands. And now it's coming. It's like, you have to ask yourself, we have to ask ourselves, like, why? If there's something that they don't want us to know, we will not know about it. It will be shut down. So the question becomes like, why? Why now? Why is this being presented? And then where do you guys see this going? Because cycles repeat themselves, right? And there's just like it's the same shit over and over again in history. So
I think it's out far enough that it can't be stopped now. And it's just because it's time. You know, the internet's here. There's too many people that know about it. He's put his plans online. It resonates with a whole bunch of other people that have been looking at this stuff for a long time. I think personally it's been around since the mid 1800s, maybe even. I mean, I think that the Sonora Club, maybe even like the old airship sort of conspiracies, something could have been developed back then, but definitely I think there's a breakaway civilization flying around with this tech already in big black triangles and orbs or whatever.
Okay. You're like you read my notes or something. Because you know, there's obviously the obvious ET phenomena being talked about now in this a potential ET and alien invasion. And so there's so many thoughts on this. I have mine. I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts on what that is, who that is, what the purpose is.
Darren, you want to answer that?
I don't think I'm the best person to answer that. I mean, I just don't give a shit. I really don't care. I just, you know, whatever's going on, it's probably espionage or secret space bullshit, or I don't know.
My theory is that they're using ambiguous object language now, like they're shooting down objects. So much for the UAP word. So they're specifically going out of their way to call it an object. And my opinion is that has to do with the energy that's happening right now.
You don't think those were just balloons?
Doesn't matter. I'm not saying they weren't balloons, but they're not saying that. They're trying to make it out like it's an unidentified object, because then they want to be able to say, oh, by the way, that stuff, that crash that we retrieved out of the lake or out of the ocean or wherever, it's an exotic technology. That's this new fusion thing that is super dangerous. We got to regulate it. We got to shut it down.
Yeah.
Or they're going to use it to get ahead of the game and say that, oh, we've developed it from this ancient tech. And meanwhile, NASA and Lockheed are already talking about it. So it's a way to bolster the official narrative of this energy instead of allowing it to go sort of free reign around the world. And the same time, they can also start pumping Blue Beam a little bit and start to make it seem like there's a mothership in the atmosphere and they're sending little drones that are getting shot down. I mean, this is what the UFO community thinks. We had a guy on, he's like, oh yeah, there's ETs. They're sending these things down to be purposely shot down. I'm like, what's going on here?
And so this is my point is like, Darren, I know you don't give a shit. And I was listening to Joe and he had on Epstein the other day, and he was also saying he went through a phase of not giving a shit about the ETs and the whatever you want to call them. But the reason I think it's important is because it gives us preface as to what their agenda is and what to expect, because it's like on both team Blue Beam and, you know, the governmental side, they're going to be the two different sides of the story, and both are going to be too extreme. On one end, it's going to be like, we're trying to protect you because of this alien invasion. And then the other side is going to be like, oh, these are ETs and they're sending them down. The truth is really in the middle somewhere to say, what it really is it's distraction. And it's just like, then the question is distraction from what? Because if we could create mass chaos through alien invasion and be doing some other stuff over here, and then we can say, you guys need us because all of this is so out of control. And now we need the government or some savior to come in to rescue us from whatever's going on.
It could happen. I mean, I'm not ruling it out. I just don't think. I mean, if they're dumping stories into the public, it's just as a distraction because they're stealing money or because the whole fucking shebang of Western civilization seems to be teetering on threads, and they don't want us to notice. And they seem to be also trying to steal as much fucking money as possible before that happens. With both of our countries printing more money in the last couple of years than they have in the last 50. So, I mean, there's a fucking problem. And I don't think it's aliens. I think it's a distraction. I think the balloon thing, they had that Chinese spy balloon come through and they were like, holy fuck, we didn't notice it until it was already like in the middle of the continent almost.
Halfway across the country.
So they changed their security, whatever they're doing, radar, whatever it is. I don't know. But they changed that to track things that are going super slow. And all of a sudden there was a bunch of shit going super slow and they were freaking the fuck out. But
I can't believe you believe that.
That's what I don't think. I mean, the whole thing went away pretty quick. Like, is the alien war just slowly going on in the background now, or the aliens went home, or they invaded and took over the place and they just stopped, or they're just not talking about it anymore because all that shit seems to have stopped.
Yeah.
So I just don't think. I don't think that they want that. I don't think the aliens are coming. I don't think it's happening. I don't think fake ones or real ones. They're just this is a distraction, or they're stealing money.
Well, maybe they'll come if they get faked out of it. I mean, if the governments do blue beam, maybe they'll come in and say, "Fucking blue beam, this is fake. We are the real ones."
Government is fucking capable of doing a project.
They're gonna try because I've always said
maybe the military industrial complex is gonna pull some shit, but the government is a bunch of fucking useless idiots.
Well, I've always thought disclosure is the wild card that they keep in their back pocket for bringing the world together. It's the last thing. Like this, COVID didn't work. Climate change is not going to work. CBDCs aren't going to work. But like they're going to have to pull something out to bring it all together, and it's going to be
it ain't coming together. Though.
But COVID,
it's coming apart.
Well, actually, this is so interesting. You guys have actually opposing viewpoints, and I'm actually kind of shocked by it too, because COVID, I feel like, was an agenda to separate us, not bring us together. In fact, they did the opposite, though. They tried to bring us to separate us because a separated people is a weakened people. But it's like it backfired, and people started coming together and waking up and getting curious about these types of things. You know, these conversations are now being had. It's like every move that they make now is being almost shifted in the opposite direction of what they initially intended. Darren, I'm really curious. You said you don't think that they're capable of doing that.
No, they're fucking idiots. They're idiots. They've governed themselves into a fucking corner, and now it's all falling apart over their trans shit, their affirmative action shit, all of it. All of their liberal bullshit is all coming apart. They're out of fucking money, and they're freaking the fuck out. To the point that half the fucking planet is walking away from us. They're like, you guys specifically, the petrodollar, the World War II agreement of the fucking petrodollar is over because people look at you guys and you're like, oh, it's a fucking clown show. Canada, US,
it is,
fucking clown show.
We're no better.
Even Mexico's like, what the fuck is going on over there? I mean, Australia, they're fucked. Yeah. UK's fucked. There's a bunch of us that are fucked. Most of Europe fucked. But the east side of Europe seems to be saying, well, what the fuck are you guys doing? You guys are fucked. You can already see Hungary. Well, maybe we agree with Russia. China, maybe we agree with Russia. Maybe we're going to trade with Russia and fucking yuan. Now, France do that too. So not just fringe European countries. France is now going to trade with China using currencies that aren't, or trade with another country using a currency that's not the US dollar. That's a fucking break of the whole deal. The whole end of the World War II deal is fucking over. So I think you're going to see China. The whole one belt, one road thing was, when you look at it now, you can already see it as the Chinese were like, okay, it's all coming down. Us in the US are going to be on different sides, and we're going to need trading routes with Europe. So that whole one belt, one road starts to make sense because they're going to be supplying Europe with stuff, not us. That's all coming apart. It's going to be Russia, China. It looks like there's going to be major powers in South America that are part of that. So the war, I mean, sure, we're fighting with each other, but I just mean it's not going to be the globalist thing that's been around for the last little while here that is about to become bipolar, at a minimum bipolar, because they look at us and they're like, holy fuck, they don't even know who's a boy and who's a girl anymore.
Yeah.
What the fuck do we can't be a part of this. And I'm not saying I'm a part of their system because the Chinese system's fucked. I don't agree with that one bit. And I don't really know what's going on in Russia because I've never been there and I don't trust anything that's on any of my television or anything else that tells me about Russia. I don't know. Unless I found a person who's moved here from Russia recently and talked to a few of them, maybe I could get a flavor of what's going on in Russia. China seems fucked. I don't agree with their system. I like the Western system, but we're not interested.
I understand. You're just saying it from an objective. But see, here's why I actually disagree with you. And then tell me what you think about this. I think that they are capable of doing whatever the hell they want. I think they put on this is all a plan. It's a choreographed stupidity. It's like all of these new agendas to weaken us and to show us as stupid is done on purpose. And to me, behind the scenes is where the real mastermind and brilliance of whatever they're doing. What?
Well, sure, I guess, but I don't know. That's us. That's on us. That's on us because us three figured it the fuck out. So why can't the other people figure it the fuck out? We're just too fucking lazy. We're not interested in being fucking in charge of our fucking sovereignty, our society, any of it.
No,
so we just handed it over. We handed it over to them. So it's just like we weren't willing to fight for it. So I don't know who them is.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a them, in my opinion. It can just be a bunch of, because we're so manipulatable at this point. Yes. It can just be a bunch of different corporations doing it. It could be 100 different people pulling us in different directions. Because sure, it's in the government's interest to have us fat and lazy if they want to take over the place, for sure. But it's also in a bunch of different food companies, corporations' interest to have us fat because they've paid off all the companies that were or the government that was supposed to watch our back.
Correct.
They paid them off so they can feed us whatever the fuck they want now. It's not real food anymore.
And that's all one and the same.
It's got this, it's got that. Is it? I mean, it's all still people. It's all people at every different part of it. It's people like you and me.
You know what it is, Darren? You know what it is? It's good versus evil.
Every step. Well, it's not. It's not even good versus evil. It's just fucking laziness. It's taking the easy decision, And but I don't see how we get out of that. The only way we get out of that is we get back to there not being as many fucking people around. Because as soon as you have this many people, you're bound to just have a certain amount of chattel. I can get to the point where I could see their fucking point about having a bunch of useless eaters around it because I'm driving on the freeway with these motherfuckers every day. I'm interacting with useless eaters on a daily basis, and I'm not judging them. That's their fucking prerogative. But now these motherfuckers are voting in people that are going to tell me I have to take experimental fucking jabs. My kids have to take experimental jabs. We're past the point of me being okay with these fucking people because they're the people that are taking me over the cliff, not they. They might be pulling the strings, but it's all the motherfuckers around me. If they were like, whoa, this is fucking crazy, then it would probably all stop pretty quick. But they're fine to just go along with it because it's easier than rocking the boat. So now I get the fucking useless eaters because the useless eaters are losing my freedom to them at a rate that I can't fucking believe. And it's the chattel that's around me that's doing it at a quicker pace than them. Because we could take them. I could take them if it weren't for the people around me that are going to throw me in a camp or a fucking mental hospital or a fucking assisted death chamber because the TV told them to before I can even get anywhere near them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Damn. That's so true.
Well, this is what happens when you let stupid
true.
People fucking breed.
Oh my God.
Well, and that's
no.
Well,
this is it. This is what happens. Our nature, the fucking everything on earth is fighting for a chance to survive. except for one fucking species. Everything. You look at everything from the plants to the insects to the fish to the mammals. You watch your Planet Earth, your National Geographic. What's the fucking one thing they all have in common? It's fucking vicious. Dog eat dog, fight through winter, fight to survive. We've created a fucking playground. So we're not fucking Homo sapiens anymore. Homo sapien, you know why there's no Homo erectus or whatever the fuck it was around anymore? Because we've devolved from that. We're slowly devolving in our comfort into whatever we're turning into. We're Homo sapien now. In another 150 or 500 years, we'll be Homo sapien domesticus.
We're Homo sapien.
We look like the little fucking gray alien. Because that's what we're devolving. We're devolving from being fucking beasts that fought to have our place on this planet with fucking real beasts. So to what we are now.
So
the only thing that protects us is our numbers.
Yep. It sounds harsh, but he's actually right. Like, I think, Darren, what I hear from you is I'm going to just point this out for those who aren't thinking like me and probably thinking like Darren is. He's saying this from an objective standpoint, and it's actually very true. It's like the real people. I love all on social media how much people that claim to be like fighting for our sovereignty and fighting for the light and however they want to term it, and yet all they talk about is how bad government is and how bad it is and how it shouldn't be this way and shouldn't be that way. It's like, well, why don't we start talking about solutions and rising up? Because you're absolutely right. There's more of us than it is of quote unquote them. And when people can wake up and truly actually value freedom, the truth is that people don't actually want freedom because it's too hard. But here is where my therapist brain comes in and says, has a little bit of compassion to say, there has been a mass hypnosis in some regard, and some of that has been done unknowingly, and some people don't even know that they are or how that happens. And that's why we're seeing people begin to wake up. But like you said, it's just not happening fast enough. And when the waking up happens, there's not enough.
Those people, when the TV tells those people to turn on you again for something different, they will fucking turn on you again. Mark my words. Even for fucking 10 people that have quote unquote woke up since COVID or because of COVID, when the TV tells them to fucking turn on you for something again, 80% of them are going to do it again.
But that's not
because
waking
it'll be
up.
Something different this time. I know, because they're not really waking up. They're waking up to the COVID thing because they kept it going too long. If they would have put the brakes on a couple of years ago, they probably could have kept a lot of those people on board. But they,
but people like that are the exact victims of perpetrators or
do I have to take care of those people though? Because they're just going to keep falling for shit, or we just have to keep taking. Here's like one good analogy is like the wolves, right? There used to be a bunch of wolves. They say all the dogs came from the wolves, and now look at these fucking dogs we got running around. So if we stop taking care of these dogs, all the different the Chihuahuas and the pugs and the chugs and the fucking Boston Terriers and the this and that, we just stopped taking care of them. In fucking 50 years, how many of those lineages of dogs do you think are still going to be around?
Well, and that's the point of kind of like natural elimination. I don't think that we're going to have to make that choice. I think it's just going to happen naturally. And actually both us and quote unquote them will be a part of that process, because if you don't, here's the thing, a weekend, if you want to take your analogy of the wolf, right? A wolf that grows up not learning how to fight for his food, when shit changes and there's less food, they're just not going to eat. They're going to starve to death.
I agree with that 100%. I think we're into like 20 years of some crazy shit. We're less than 100 years removed from tens of millions of people starving to death.
Yep.
Because they made stupid social decisions. And it sure looks like we're doing the same thing now, right? We laugh because the Soviets did this to their farmers or did that to their farmers. And the Chinese Mao, that silly bastard, made these guys go out to the field instead of those guys. And now we're starving to death. Well, we're shutting down fertilizer companies for fucking emissions. And we're going to see where that fucking ends here over the next couple of years. It's going to start to happen because we're not making as much fertilizer. Canada's trying to cut our fertilizer right fucking now. So what happens when they cut our fertilizer? A, our farmers aren't going to get as much as they're supposed to. And B, we're going to stop exporting it altogether. We're probably the number one exporter of fertilizer in the world. We're not going to be exporting that shit. Especially considering Europe shut down 75% of their fertilizer facilities. So fertilizer, in my opinion, my prediction, is going to be what starves out our thing. That's going to be what we're looking back at in 100 years in our history books and saying those fucking dummies. Like we're doing now and to Stalin and saying those fucking dummies. To Lenin, those fucking dummies. But look what we're doing right now. It's fucking crazy. We're in no position to, I mean, I guess we could judge, but as a society, the current Western civilization is in no position to be judging Maoist China or Stalin's Russia because we're fucking heading in the same direction at an alarming rate.
But also, if we can't even get our own shit together, why are we sitting there judging and helping and paying so much attention to others? And while it's important, it's like we have a lot of battles going on our own soil right now to be focused on.
Yeah, I think that's all going to happen. I think that's sort of like the inevitable thing is that I think North America is going to sort of cocoon up into its own world again. It's all China and Russia are going to start to take over that east side. America's going to assert dominance over the west still. Europe's going to be in this weird sort of middle zone. We'll probably do a bit of trade with them. I wouldn't want to be in Europe right now, I'll tell you that. But as whole, I think a lot of that stuff is going to start to come home. I don't think in the long run, I think a lot of that stuff will start to come home. I think it'll be good for us in the long run. It'll just be a messy, decade or two while we transition into bringing all the shit we've been making in China and Taiwan and every place else and bringing that back over here and probably making Mexico do a lot of it.
I agree with that. Graham, what are your thoughts?
I don't know. It's so weird. It's so hard to tell.
It seems like you guys actually
go ahead.
Have differing viewpoints on that one.
Yeah, we do a little bit on some of that stuff. I don't really look. I think. I'm of two minds. I think there's going to be sort of a slow collapse, but I also think people are waking up and new things are happening all over the place. People are gathering together. They're sort of creating parallel systems. I mean, I think there's got to be sort of a separation at some point, but those that want to be controlled and those that don't want to be. I heard somebody say it the other day, and I have to remember exactly how he said it, but actually, I think it was the inventor of that technology, and it was this good and evil that you talked about. And I think it'll probably align with what you were going to say is it's something about like the oppressed and the oppressor kind of thing. Like if you want to oppress people, that's evil. If you don't want to oppress people, that's good. You know, it can be sort of simplified to, and that's kind of what I've been thinking with what's going on. Like you want to control people and coerce people, that's just evil. You want to let people be, then that's good.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah. And I think at a deeper level too, I mean, biblically, historically, this is a recurring theme of, and when I say evil, I'm actually talking about spiritual evil too. You know, it's like there's so many different layers and levels and planes of good and evil, I feel like. And not, I feel like there really actually is. And there's the actual spiritual etheric realm. There's, you know, and then there's just good and bad as far as a human level or humanity level goes. And what I think is happening is very interesting because for the first time in our lives, we're seeing like all the different levels of good and evil being played out. There is a definite spiritual evil that is at play here with all of these actors or players, you know, the presidents, the rulers, the 1%, if you will. And I do believe that there's a spiritual evil that is behind that. And there's proof of that, you know, of presidents making contracts with entities. And even way back, you know, when there was actually entities and angelic beings, fallen angels that coexisted with humanity, the Nephilim and all of these things. And it always has to do about the human DNA, right? So it just looks different in each season that we go through. But here we are again with something, nobody can name it, something that we can say there's people behind it, organizations, whatever. It's something that wants to alter human DNA. And that's really what it comes down to, is all the other bullshit about aliens and COVID and the wars between the countries. Like, that's all one thing that's happening, but deeper underbelly of what's really happening is that something is after the alteration of the human DNA.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
And that's where our sovereignty comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other part I would disagree with Darren on is just that I don't think they're as incompetent as he thinks they are. I think that at the head of this, the unelected powers that are visible, the WEF and the WHO, are really trying their best to make sure that they put whatever they need to in place to lock us down for whatever reason they say. And then they are trying to get us on the CBDCs. Like, they're pushing as hard as they can to continue their tyranny. And I don't see them backing off anytime soon. And the American government, the Canadian government might seem like a clown show, but it's really coming from above them.
I agree.
Because those machines aren't going to work in another couple decades. They're just as delusional as everyone else. I mean,
I hope so.
Their own fucking Kool-Aid that they think we're on this perpetual fucking slope of progress. But as far as I can tell, is real progress quit a while ago. Other than like engineering and improving the things we already have, I haven't seen any real breakthroughs in my lifetime.
Yes. Yeah. You're actually the third person that I've talked to say that same thing. It's like, we think we're progressing so rapidly. Really, the beginning of the internet and computers in that time frame, it's been very minute, progress. Whereas from the computer on backwards, it was like exponential growth, and now we've just slowed rapidly. So I don't know whose definition of progress we're going by, but I would agree with you. We're definitely regressing as a society, especially with new technologies, makes humanity more incompetent than it does make us competent. I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm in the middle of both of you guys. I feel like there is an incompetence, but I feel like it's been a trained incompetence. And I think that there's like, it's just like these last 3 years, we've been getting hammered. We've been getting hammered by mankind, and both energetically, we know what's happening, on an energetic and spiritual level. We've been getting hammered there too. So it's like, it's hard to see now what is what for people, not like you and I, because the majority of people are not like you and I.
But if it wasn't for the supply chain, if you had to, let's say you had to figure it out, you had to grow your food, hunt your food, have some sheep or something like that. And let's even say everyone gets an acre. So it's not even like you're stuck in an apartment, you have to do that. And I got some land. So it's, I'm one up on you. Everyone gets an acre, but you got to grow, hunt, or produce all your own shit, your water, your shit, get rid of your fucking, all of it. What percent of them are still around?
Very few.
I think that's what we're dealing with, is we're regressing physically because we've domesticated ourselves, and supermarkets and everything else. I mean, half these kids probably don't even know where food really comes from anymore. Pretty soon it's going to come from a laboratory, which seems like a bad idea. So there's just
that's all true.
You're allowing, you just start, it's in a way, it's playing God, because you're getting in the way of evolution and allowing breeding to take place that otherwise wouldn't take place. But I think, and there is probably some people like your Klaus Schwabs and your Bill Gateses, and you got some real crafty motherfuckers that are thems. There's some thems that seem to be pretty fucking clever. But I'm pretty clever, and you're pretty clever, and Graham's pretty clever. And, it seems like 10 or 15%, maybe even 20% of the people I know in my day-to-day life are pretty clever. So they've probably got the same thing going on. But I can tell you this, like clever 50-year-olds to 40-year-olds to 20-year-olds I know is an extreme fucking drop-off. And I'd imagine that the elites are probably sort of dealing with the same thing, where they had some real clever motherfuckers and then their kids turned out to be fucking retards.
All right. So Darren, so take that whole happening that you just described so eloquently and take that trajectory into the future. We've got our circle of clever motherfuckers. I'm just going to do that in quotations. Our circle of clever motherfuckers starts to dwindle. And then the elite's circle of clever motherfuckers starts to dwindle. We go now into the future. Now we have a smaller group of clever elites and clever us. Okay. What does that look like?
It looks like,
and I guess my point,
I think.
What's that?
I think Ayn Rand nailed it. I think Atlas Shrugged is the fucking winner of the dystopian novels. It looks like we're going to go through some Fahrenheit 451 on the way and burn some books. They like try to thrash and in their death throes try to maintain some, and it doesn't even have to be control, just sort of some semblance of, oh my God, it's falling apart. Like, can you imagine being in power right now? And you're like, I mean, we have idiots in power, obviously, but I don't think that like the right leader or anything can put the reins on this thing right now. We're too far down that road. We needed to.
Yeah, it's too far gone. Yeah.
It's too far gone. You could maybe like just save it, but I'm a firm believer.
No, it needs to run its course. Now at this point,
great men and women, to a lesser extent, built this country, built the West, built the machines, I mean, it's not as a civil. We didn't all do it together. We really did it. We really did it. Everything that. From the computers to the thises to the that, we could probably break down to a couple of thousand people throughout history that were just extraordinary in different ways and went after it and didn't care about free time or family or other things like we did and just wanted to make a microchip or a car or this or that. Well, whatever they did, we ended up where we are today. And now we're like demonizing I think we're making less of those people. We're demonizing the ones that we do have. And I think it's already too late to like, across the industries that I'm seeing, it's like we're not as good at doing stuff as we were even 5 years ago.
I got a first-hand
20. I mean, pretty soon it'll be to the point where I don't think that, and I'm using my family as an analogy. I think that we'll be outliers in this, but I don't think that my great grandkids will be able to run the systems, whether it's the machines or the complex social systems that my great grandparents built, because it's just too much for them. It's just too fucking much for them. And we're increasingly relying on these computers and stuff to do it for us. And as soon as those stop working, it's fucking all over. It's going to fall apart fucking fast. I really, and I don't see a way to pull up out of it right now. I just think it's going to be but it's not going to be a collapse like that. It's going to be like Atlas Shrugged. It's going to be that slow thing where we'll slowly just start to accept the fact that the train's 6 hours late. It happens like that sometimes. Grandpa says the trains used to be on time and they used to have planes and they used to go to Europe, but all that shit's, they went to the moon, whether we did that or not. I don't know if we actually did that. I don't think we did personally, but as an example, all that stuff is going to be. And, it's funny because I remember we had John Michael Greer on like 7 or 8 years ago, and he was saying almost exactly this. I think he was blaming it on peak oil, which I don't think will happen. I don't think we need peak oil for it to happen. But he was kind of saying this kind of stuff. And I was like, this guy's fucking nuts. And 7 years later, I'm like, oh yeah, fucking.
Oh yeah,
he was seeing it early, and COVID accelerated it. It'd be interesting to talk to him now.
Yeah,
because it'd be interesting to see what he's saying after COVID, because whatever was happening, COVID accelerated by, I would say, 10 years.
I got a prime example. I got a first-hand example at a hiring practice in a tech company. Get this. So you get unlimited sick days. Like you can take whatever sick time off you want, right? Unlimited. Like however much you don't want to be there, you can just not be there. But guess what 2 words you can't use in your hiring practice when you're looking for people to work for you in a tech industry? What 2 words would be not allowed? First one, do you want to guess?
I don't think I can.
Right.
Passion. You can't say passion. You can't say passion. You don't want people passionate about their job. You cannot put this on the website or on your advertisement for hiring your tech people. You can't put passion on there because that's too much like like overtime, like what did they call it when the guys are working, like not guys, but people are working like, double shifts, like the crunch. It's too much like crunch. The other one, which is even worse, is inspire. Guess what connotation the word inspire has for the new world?
It's not fair to those that are uninspirable.
No. Well, that too.
Well, I'm guessing inspire makes you think bigger. So it's kind of a threat.
No, it's religious. It's too religious.
Oh, forgot. So, it's funny.
And now put that on top of the fact
these are like two of my favorite words.
That you're not as likely to get the job if you're not a fucking tranny or black or brown or Pakistani or an immigrant from here, or maybe, you're a chick, just all these different reasons. I'm not saying those people can't do the jobs. There's probably tons of them that can do the jobs, but we're going to put aside a bunch of people that are arguably better at doing those jobs to fill. I mean, your country right now is being run by my country too. We just had the thing. It looked like the Marvelous Five or something up there announcing their new legislation. They have pink hair, purple hair. It's all different colors, and they're making laws. It's a fucking clown show.
But a part of me thinks so similar to some of these guys that Joe has had on.
When the guy running the airplane, flying the airplane, got hired because he cut his dick off instead of because he's a good pilot. Because right? One more spot. We need one more transsexual person to fill our quota.
Yeah, and the thing is like I don't care who's what. Everybody, if we're really thinking about this logically, they just want the best person in a position to do what they need to do. I want the best doctor, I want the best surgeon, I want the best pilot. It doesn't matter. But now we've turned it into something else. And I think that's a side thing.
Just for saying hierarchy, he gets yelled at just for suggesting hierarchy. That's why I think we're doomed. We built our entire civilization on hierarchy, and then we're like, no, we can't do that hierarchy anymore. We're going to get rid of that.
All right, hear me out. So I'm going to tell you why we're not doomed. And all three of us in this room know that we're not doomed, because light always wins. We already have that victory. But here's what's going to happen. So I see visions too, more like prophetic visions. I think that the whole, coming down in shambles is not going to be a slow thing. I think there's going to be one massive event, and I think it's going to happen this year. That's going to be very cataclysmic, and it's going to cause a lot of death very fast. That's going to put in motion whatever the next phase is. And the point I'm trying to make is that it is our duty to help our brother and sister, not the idiot imbecile who's like, I'm choosing to, turn a blind eye to this. But the person who is truly like, and I hate to use the word victim because I just think that word victim is like, nobody's truly a victim because we all have free choice, right? But some people are just seriously hypnotized. But the moment that they wake up, they'll be like ready to go. And I think the people that are supposed to lead humanity in that next phase are people like you and like Graham and like I, and into where it's like we become just like them if we're self-preserved, if we're self-preservating ourselves and not thinking about the collective orchestration of what's really happening here. And we'll be those titans who carry humanity on into a new age. But I think it will happen fast, and then it's going to be a long haul of, like you said, like Mad Max style. Some weird shit's gonna happen.
Do you have any have you had any visions about what it is?
Okay. No, I just know it will happen in an instant, and I know it's going to be man-induced.
So like EMP type thing? I mean.
So yeah. So 2.5 years ago, I saw a massive EMP hitting the earth and causing that. And then this year, earlier, it was January or February. I have it journaled down. No, it was last year. I got the knowing that it would be this year, the calendar year 2023. And then something was telling me June. All I saw was a lot of ash and then a lot of more. It's just going to be more fighting. a massive scramble, because it will happen quickly.
Maybe the shots will kick in.
So yeah, I think it's going to have to do with the shots. Yeah. And so what I know is that there's a couple of things that it has to do with. And so we can combine these things, right? I'm never really told directly. I'm more so shown in pictures and visuals. And what I got was that it's the combination of the 5G, the vaccines, and then something with certain areas of the world, like certain specific areas, populated areas. So an EMP would make a lot of sense, because you have these 5G towers everywhere and people are hooked up with metallic stuff going through their body. You turn something on and immediately drop.
Oh, like it's a fry right through the towers, right into the wireless, sort of like it's almost not just a direct impact on electronics, but a direct impact on whatever's connected to those electronics.
Yes. Yeah.
That
was
sense.
And this was through more of a series of visions that kind of like brought it all together. But that's partially why I think I was brought out to Arizona, because there's really not much of that around here. There's not a lot of wires. Yeah. So, but the point is, it's going to cause a lot of chaos quickly.
Yeah. Well, plus if the power's
and then
out,
we're talking. Yeah, and then you shut down power from stupid people, and Darren, like we just said, all of that stuff kind of starts to take care of itself. I mean, it's like we don't necessarily have to do anything. Mother Nature needs to survive. It needs homeostasis. This world becomes too populated, and something needs to happen.
Well, yeah, it'll be a messy few years. It'd be good to have a bunch of ammo, especially if you're close to a populated area. I mean, the first year will really be the messiest, and then things will start to sort of pan out.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I don't mind. I'll be fine. I'm not worried. I think it'll be great.
Yeah.
Great. If this keeps going, great. Things are going well. I seem to have things in place to ride this out if this keeps going. And if not, whatever. I'm confident in my ability to thrive in that ecosystem as well. It almost seems funner than going to catch my
It definitely makes you feel alive. That's for sure. Yeah. So I'm curious.
Out there hunting today, it seems better to be out there in the mountains than it does to be at the airport waiting for a plane, even if it's to go someplace cool.
Yeah. That's why I'm loving this RV life. It's so simple. It's so like, you don't have to worry about collecting a bunch of shit that you don't need and then having to maintain it all. It's like you're out here in the elements, and you still have the luxuries of, an actual working shower and things like that. But it's so simple. And it's like, we just have so much that we don't need. Where are you living, Darren?
I live in Alberta, just east of Calgary.
Oh, all right. And Graham, where are you at?
I'm about 5 minutes away from him.
Oh, you guys are, dang. I don't know why I didn't realize you both are in Canada.
Yeah, we're both in Alberta.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's interesting. How did you keep running the retreats during COVID if you couldn't go back and forth across the border?
We just made up fake reasons to go across the border. In the end, it turned out I was an Indian, so I didn't have to worry about any of it. But we didn't figure that out until it must have been late 2021, because when I went to the May events, I was still using the fake oil company we made to travel. Energy. Yeah, we didn't say oil. We said it was an energy company. Because all the energy companies were exempt. So, yeah, I flew to Vegas. I had a little letter I laminated that said I was a field consultant for Exio Energy. And I was going to Vegas to go look at some. I didn't say what I was going for. I just said I was going for it. We left it at that. And then
they don't ask.
So you guys didn't
going across the border. They don't go out. They don't ask really. Most of the time,
at that time there was no vaccines, right? So that shit wasn't coming up. It was then. There was this testing stuff you could do eventually, but if you had this letter that said you're an essential service, you didn't need to do any of it.
Just so stupid. Logically, none of that makes any sense.
Once the vaccines came out, it got, trickier. But that also didn't because I was an Indian. And then we find ways around.
Which doesn't make sense again.
Yeah, it's a treaty.
Because I've got clients in Canada. Okay. All right. Yeah, I've got clients in Canada, and it was so hard for them to travel back and forth. And my brother lives in Canada too. So, I'm curious, just as we kind of like wrap up here, I'm curious because it seems like both of you guys have been into this for a very long time. But what I get curious about is, what is your mission with all of it? Did it start out of pure curiosity and desire to know and to just discover? Or is there a deeper mission behind what you guys do as far as hosting the retreats and the podcast?
It started out as a curiosity. I think I wanted to talk to interesting people. I mean, I have a curiosity about a lot of different topics, so it kind of fits in with sort of my wide variety of interests. So I don't really get to go deep on too many things, but I like to explore sort of the surface level of a whole bunch of things. And, and then after, it became a job for me reading the audiobooks and doing the podcasts. I finally was able to quit my job and do this full time. So for me, it's just about trying to maintain a career out of it, and still keep the authentic feel and the authentic sort of search for truth that's kind of happening. The retreats are, kind of like a weekend podcast, kind of like a meeting with a bunch of friends or the show kind of thing. And now with a guest or two that are, maybe one of our podcast guests, or, to be sort of like the special sort of host or presenter there. And it kind of like, it's like an intimate conference. So it's a good way to get to see people in real life and hang out with people. Otherwise, I'm just going to sit at home and work all day long. Darren's probably got completely different. What's that?
And travel for free.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's true.
Podcasting, we're never going to be able to afford to go to Egypt on a podcaster salary. But if we do an event and host and tell some jokes and jump through some hoops, people won't come there with you. So it works out. The events are super fun. It works out that we get to check out all these cool places. We're going to Utah next week.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to go.
Yeah. So tell my listeners about your upcoming retreat in Utah.
When does this come out?
This will come out not this upcoming. So a week from next Tuesday.
So the Utah will have happened. We'll have just finished Utah. But we do have the Randall Carlson trip coming up on May 15th. There's
May 15th.
Slots left for that, where we go tour around with Randall Carlson, check out the Washington Scablands. Graham will be there driving a van and cracking jokes. And then we have the September trip, again with Randall Carlson in Montana and Idaho.
Fun.
Looking at more mega flood stuff. And then we have the Canada trip, November 9th to 12th in Canada, where we're going to the BC Hot Springs beside the river. And we're doing the Brandon Powell, Wim Hof thing back and forth between the two pools. So it should be good. Then that'll round out the rest of the year.
That's awesome. Is Brandon going to the Randall Carlson ones too, or just Randall?
Just Randall. And the Snake Bros, I think, will go to both of those. And Graham will definitely be at both of those. I don't know if I'll make both of those or not yet, but... And then we're doing our big Eclipse thing next year in Texas.
Oh, what are you doing for the Eclipse?
Kind of like a festival sort of thing, I guess. It's all sort of camping and
entertainment.
Yeah, entertainment. 3
Where
days. In Hill Country, Texas. We're still working out the details. We expect tickets to be on sale next month sometime. But
that's cool.
400 or 500 people in a camping sort of thing, and
in the path of totality.
In the path of totality, with some bands and some food trucks and some presents.
Oh heck yeah! I want details on that one.
Yeah,
I had the pleasure of being. Yeah, I had the pleasure of being in Graham's van every time when we were driving to and from at the last retreat with you guys. So that was a riot.
Oh yeah, it's always a blast. It's like a podcast every van trip,
Seriously, you should just bring a mic in those vans. The conversations that happen in those.
Those ones are nice too because it's not
fun.
too much van time. The Randall ones is a lot of van time. You get sick of the van almost. But
I feel like Randall would low-key love that.
Yeah, well, we have Randall Radio, so we have Randall.
I was just gonna say, like, I could just see Randall in the car just talking the whole time. He'll know a little bit about everything.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, I'm going to link all these details and your guys' website in the show notes for my listeners to see that. Otherwise, please tell us where we can find you on social media as well.
You can find everything at Grimerica.ca, but we have audiobooks as well at adultbrain.ca. We have a couple new YouTube channels. Darren's kind of started up this Grimerica Media, which is sort of videos, and Adult Brain is our audiobook. So we have like free audiobooks on YouTube and a whole bunch of them on Audible as well. Darren's been booted off Twitter, so we don't really have a Twitter to share. I'm on Instagram. I'm the one that follows the Instagram thing. That's at Grimerica on Instagram. And do you want to have any other social media you want to?
We're on Facebook.
Facebook. Yeah.
I have a Twitter. It's Darren_Grimes_, but I don't expect it to last long. And we're on Facebook. We're on Facebook too.
And we're on Rumble now and all podcast platforms, and we're on Rumble and Rockfin as well. We're starting to do videos and live streaming now again. So we're going to get back into sort of that whole thing.
Awesome. You guys are on Rumble. That's great. Wow. So I'm going to link all of this, you guys, for you listeners who are interested in any of their retreats. Their podcast is amazing, and the audiobooks as well in the show notes. So keep an eye out for that. And Graham and Darren, thank you so much for joining me on the first show of this season 2 on Ignite the Spark Within.
Thanks, Sarah.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
You got it. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Ignite the Spark Within. If this podcast brought you value, or you think it would bring someone else value, please hit that share button. My mission is to reach and help as many people as I possibly can. And you just never know who could use that one good piece of information. And hey, if you have any topics, discussion questions, or ideas for future episodes, you can reach me directly at sarah@sparkflc.com and just write podcast in the subject line. And if you haven't already, please rate the podcast on your favorite podcast channel. This helps bring awareness to the show. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you're alerted for all future episodes. Please go ahead and follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And if you're interested in pursuing coaching for yourself, you can visit sparkflc.com for more information.